Piggy, 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 Piggy. 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 Bagels. Come here. Okay, what's the time? 12. Hey, Meals. Okay, today is Yoga for Strength. We are going to work pretty hard today. There's lots of tips and techniques and different styles of yoga, it's almost like there's as many techniques and styles as there are a variety of people. It's one of the reasons why it's so universal. You can kind of find something that works for you, find a style. I invite you to let go of the idea that one is right or wrong. There are lots of different styles to meet us where we're at, depending on where we are in our lives, what we've been through. So today's yoga is going to be about really focusing on physical strength, kind of that idea that we get so in tune with the physical body and building strength with the physical body that the mental mind doesn't have the time to catch up. And then when you lay down for your resting pose, you're so filled with endorphins that you get to let go of some of the tension and gripping in the head. So today we are going to make use of blocks if you have them. You can just try and squeeze and imagine if you don't have them, or find something that you can use instead of. We're also going to use something slippery. So because we have wood floors, I use a towel. Now that my dog's moved, I guess I can move these out the way. Because I have a wood floor, I use a towel. You can use something slippery like a paper plate or something if you have carpet. We're going to use that to work on some ab work. And then if you have a band, you can grab it, you can engage, you can use it throughout practice. If you want to add in that shoulder work or the extra engaging in the legs, go ahead, have it handy. Again, none of these tools are necessary. They're just things that can help us get into the physical body. So come on down to your back and start to land in the room. So notice what is going on. Take a wiggle, feel your hips. Notice what's going on as you begin to land in the room, land in the space. And you know, the cognitive mind constantly has control. So it's always working, always kind of trying to be the forefront of attention. So start to give yourself permission to just really have a physical experience for the next 50 minutes. Trying to get to know your muscles, get to know where you're weak or strong, where you have holding patterns, where you have compensation patterns. So one of the wonderful things in this practice is as we begin to focus on working some particular muscle groups, we start to learn the other muscles that are trying to do all the work for us. So really checking in throughout practice, even when I'm not cueing it, looking in your common holding patterns, checking your neck, checking your shoulders, checking your low back, checking gripping of toes, checking gripping around the jaw and in the face. Start to really land on the mat. Maybe even close the eyes for a few breaths and just notice what the breath is doing. Having the hands wherever they're comfortable. Observe the breath. It's another layer of information. Do we grip around our breath when we begin to focus on our breath? Do we begin to force it into a pattern as soon as we focus on it? Are we breathing slow and deep into our bottom of our lungs, or are we only using the top half of our lungs up into our chest? Just notice there are no right and wrongs, just information. And then we're going to have off our feet about hip width apart, knees up, and we're gonna move and breathe. So just starting to lift our arms up overhead with an inhale. Exhale, push your arms down actively towards the hips. Inhale, lift. Exhale, push. Start to engage your arms. Imagine you're pushing something. Maybe you have weights underneath your hands and you're really pushing them back down towards your hips. Notice if you begin gripping around the neck or the jaw, the low back. And then bring the hands out, even with the shoulders, palms up. And we're going to move with the breath again. Inhale, center, and as you exhale, take a hand over across the body and tap the other hand. Inhale, center. Exhale, cross the body and tap the other hand. Let your head roll on the ground, letting your neck be soft. And let this movement come from the core and upper body, not the hips. So the hips are going to move on the ground, but not guiding the movement from the hips. In fact, all the muscles around the hips should be nice and soft and flowy. So notice if this is hard for you. Notice if you begin to see a gripping in one of your hips or both of your hips. And then land back on the ground, arms on the ground, shoulders on the ground, feet on the ground. Find a neutral body, so no gripping. Everything's nice and soft. Experience softness. See if that pops up any places where gripping helps you notice them. And then if you have the block, you're going to place it in between the thighs, just below the knees. Narrow side. We're going to squeeze the block. You can place your feet down about hip width. You can place your feet out a little more. This changes the muscle group. And you can also bring the feet closer together. So this changes which muscles you're using. So just see which one feels like the ones you want to use today. So squeeze the block. Squeeze the core. So now as you're squeezing the block, see if you can find all those muscles that are close to the spine, deep inside the stomach. Squeezing the block. Bring your arms, the back of your arms down, fingertips to the ceiling, just for balance. So we're not pushing hard. Lift the chin so the neck is not forced to the ground. So see if you can find more of those muscles in the core, already fired up. And then take the knees left and right. Small, tiny movements. See if you can engage the glutes also, as if you're trying to pull the tailbone down. Pull the tailbone away from you. So squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Find as many muscles as you can to fire up in the stomach, the glutes, the legs. Try not to grip at the toes or the face. Squeeze. The movement is slow and controlled. Finding the muscles, not just flopping around. Don't hold your breath. And bring it back to neutral. Soften. See what it feels like to have all those muscles soft again. Experience softness. Switch the width of the block. So now we're squeezing wide side. Maybe change where your feet are positioned. See which one feels best for you today. And then engage. So core becomes strongly fired up. Squeezing the legs. See if you can squeeze the glutes also, as if you're trying to pull the tailbone down, make more space for the spine, especially the lower back. And then we're going to take the knees side to side with control. Slow. This should feel like hard work. If it's not feeling like hard work, you're flopping too much. You're not trying to find the muscles. Or maybe you're just superhuman strong in the core and you're not feeling this. It's a subtle engagement. Breathe. And then let let the block go. Soften the muscles to maybe take us side to side with the knees and hips, just to reset. Leave the left foot on the ground. Bring the right knee around in circles. So we're just trying to feel the hip, what's going on in the hip. Take it slow, as if you're trying to feel every angle that the hip can move in. And then reverse the circle. Notice any gripping in the low back. Notice any gripping in the face and neck. And then take the right ankle, cross it underneath the left knee. Press the right knee away from you. Option to lift the toes of the left foot and then engage. So push the heel like you're pushing the heel down into the ground. And then see if you can feel like you're pulling the heel back towards the glute. So really fire up that left glute and left leg while still engaging and pulling the right knee away from you. Breathe. So just feel the hips. Notice. Slowly unravel. Left ankle goes underneath the right knee, right foot down. Engage, keep the hips grounded. So left leg is entirely engaged. Push the knee away from you and then find some engagement in the right leg. So maybe lift the toes, push the heel away, and then pull back at the same time. So you're trying to pull the heel towards you, fire up that whole glute area. See what's going on here in this space. And then let it go, unravel. Take the knees side to side. Bring the knees in. Give yourself a little hug. See how your feet feel. Maybe wiggle the toes or take ankle circles. And then roll on over to a side and straight into a tabletop. Inhaling tabletop and exhaling towards a child. So just finding movement with breath. Inhale forward, exhale back. Take any sways or movements that feel like the right ones to take in your body in this moment. Have an internal experience. Find your breath. Make this about movement meditation. The head, the cognitive head, the thoughts are pulling you in all kinds of directions. Focus more deeply in on your hands on the ground, your feet touching the ground, your breath in your body. And if it's still pulling you in every direction, maybe adding a little thought to focus on. Inhaling, I open my heart. Exhaling, I bow to my heart. Option to stay with this simple movement or begin to build on it. Inhale, tabletop, exhale towards a down dog shape. Inhale, tabletop, exhale towards child's pose. Letting go of whatever you think is the perfect shape and trying to have an internal experience in your own body. How do your muscles feel today? Option to build upon this even further. Inhaling, tabletop. Exhaling, down dog. Inhaling towards a high plank shape. Exhaling, down dog. Inhaling, tabletop. Exhaling, child. So a little more complicated. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, high plank. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, child. Maybe adjusting your hand position, changing your shoulder shape. come on up to a tabletop position. Lift yourself up out of the ground. Begin to engage the core, the arms, the shoulders. Take the right leg back, even with the hip. Engage the leg. So nice strong leg. We're going to bend the knee and send the heel up to the ceiling. Little tiny pulses. Try not to sink into the shoulders. Lift up. Engage. Strength. Don't hold your breath. Keeping the knee bent, we're going to bring the knee towards the right shoulder. Engaged leg. So hold and hover it here. Watch for buckling in the shoulders. Option to try to straighten the leg. Little pulses with the heel to the ceiling like this. Trying not to move anything else, just the leg. Use the hips. And then take the leg even with the hip, lower the toes, press through the heels. Lower the right leg, reset. Find your breath. Lift up out of the ground, engage the core. Left leg back. Activate the leg nice and strong. Bend the knee, little tiny pulses of the heel to the ceiling. Keeping the knee bent, bring the knee slowly towards the left shoulder, engage and hold. Option to try to straighten the leg, and then little pulses of the heel, trying to move only this left leg. So watch for this, watch for the compensation patterns of the hips moving in the back, doing a lot of work. Try to keep it in the hip, and the glute, and the leg. And then take the leg back behind the hip, lower the foot, press through the heel. Lower the knees. We're going to tuck the toes, engage the core, lift up out of the ground, lift and hover the knees. So get really strong, engage the core, almost as if you're trying to tuck the pelvis and pull it towards the sternum just a little. So nice and strong and engaged, legs are engaged, and we're going to move the knees towards the chest and then back. Knees towards the chest and back. So it's a teeny movement coming from the low core. Lower the knees, send the hips back. Child's pose, reset, take the tension out of the neck, the tension out of the arms, maybe even remind yourself to take the tension out of the arms by flipping the palms. Catch your breath. And then option to repeat that same exercise or move on back to your slippy thing. So very careful and mindful if you're going to use your slippy thing here. You're going to place your toes on your slippy thing, your knees bent. So you're in a tabletop position, set up first. Nice and strong in the arms, and engage and lift. Lift and hover the knees. And we're going to let our feet slide back, and then draw our knees back in towards the chest. Slide back, draw in. Slow with control. Lower the knees, hips back, take a little reset. Maybe drop down and flip the palms. Take a little wiggle of the hands. Catch the breath. Told you we're going to work hard today. Bringing the hands back, so maybe changing the position of your hands. So not always keeping our hands and our arms and our shoulders in the exact same position, changing so that we build muscles in all kinds of shapes and angles. So change the position of your arms and either repeat what we just did, repeat the first exercise if that's where you were ready to be, or come on up, lift the knees. We're going to let them slide back, and this time bring them to the left hand as you bend. So twist and bend, and then other side. Small movement, trying to focus a lot on those core muscles, especially the lower core. Squeeze the stomach as tight as you can towards the spine. The slide back is as controlled as the slide forward. Lower the knees. Send the hips back. Flip the palms. Release. Maybe even drop the head. Release the tension from the neck. Find the breath. And then come forward. Find a down dog. So send the hips up and back. Warm up your down dog. Move around. Find what feels right in your body today in this moment. Take whatever movement your body says it needs today. And then take the tension out of the head, out of the neck, and find the stillness of down dog. Connect with your head below your heart. Find nice, strong, slow breath. Bend the knees, look towards the hands, and either hop or step forward. Feet underneath hips. We're going to inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, knees bend. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Starting to engage the legs. So imagine you're pulling your feet apart without letting them move. And then inhale, arms up overhead, come to stand. Exhale, heart to heart, connect with your breath. Inhale up. Exhale, heart to heart. Bring your heart to heart and hold. Find your feet on the ground. Lift the toes, move the feet, feel the feet and ankles and knees. And then we'll build upon that moving and breathing. Inhale, lift your arms overhead, lift the heels, bend the knees. Exhale, bend the knees even more, sink the hips. Inhale, lift. Exhale, sink, starting to engage the legs deeply. Engage the core to keep you balanced. Sink it down to a baby chair with the heels lifted and assess. Look for those compensation patterns and gripping in the low back. Bring some strength into the core, lengthen the spine, get taller, taller, taller. Engage all of the legs, so feel like you're pulling the knees apart and at the same time squishing them together. Whole leg engaged. With slow control, take the knees a teeny bit over to the right and then a teeny bit over to the left, keeping the torso still. So we're moving in the base, just feeling the legs, ankles, knees. And then inhale up, lower the heels. Exhale, arms down by our sides, and then take it side to side. Loosen and soften. Find your breath. Bring it back to center. We're going to begin to sink our hips just a little, bend our knees and engage our core. We're going to lift up the right leg, balancing on the left, but trying not to move the hips. So bring that knee forward, engage the core, lift the right leg. Bring your hands to prayer, or leave your hands on your hips. We're going to engage this right leg. We're going to open the knee out to the side and then squeeze it back in. But I want to engage, as if you have a band attached from one leg to the other and you're pulling against it and then it's pulling you back. Whole movement is strong, controlled, and engaged. Inhale as you open. Exhale as you squeeze back in towards midline. Inhale as you open. Exhale as you squeeze in. Cross the right leg over the left. Back to that figure four shape from beginning of practice. So engage first. Whole leg engage. Foot engage. Left leg engage. Core engage. Then maybe sink the hips a little. Find your balance. Bring it back up to stand. Right knee comes with you. Bring the right knee out to the right. Bring the right hand to the thigh and push into the thigh without letting it move. Engage. Option to see if you can straighten up the leg. And then bring it down. Pedal out the left foot. So move the foot, tap it out. Maybe take some circles. We were balancing on that foot for a while, so feel left and right side. See what is different. And then connect with the breath. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, prayer to heart. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, prayer to heart. Hold your prayer heart set up for the other side. So sink the hips a little, bend the knees, engage the core, engage the glutes, but not the only thing that's working. So notice if you have the tendency to really make the glutes do all the work, it shortens the back. So make sure the legs are as engaged as the glutes. Bring the weight onto the right leg, bring the left leg forward, engage the whole leg. Inhale, open the knee to the left. Exhale, squeeze it back in slow. Inhale, open. Exhale, squeeze back in. Leg engage. Find as many muscles as you can to connect with. Can you feel the inner thigh? Can you feel the outer hip? Try not to lock the standing leg. Bend and engage every muscle you can find. Try not to grip with the toes. And then squeeze it back in, cross ankle over knee. Sink the hips a little more. And then get really long in the spine. So lifting from the hips with all of the core muscles. Engaged left leg, pulling that knee actively down. Slowly come up to stand, knee comes with you. Open it up to the left, left hand engage. Push the leg into the hand into the leg, and then option to straighten. Notice any compensation patterns if you try to do that straightening. Do you flop over? Do you push the hip out? Try to stand up still. Stand up tall. Bring it back in. And then tap it out. Tap out the right foot. Move. Take some ankle circles. And maybe just tap it out. Connect in with the breath. Inhale up. Exhale, prayer to heart. Hold your heart center. Find your center. Check in for any gripping around the low back, glutes, shoulders, face. Notice if you're gripping with your toes. Bend the knees a little. We're going to bring left leg forward again. Engage. So nice and strong. A little bit deeper bend in the left. Right leg is forward. A little bit deeper bend in the left leg this time. Get really long in the spine, engaged in the spine. Send the right knee past the left. Bend the knee and bring the heel towards the glute. See if you can hold and hover and lengthen. Right leg remains engaged. You can bring your arms out to help you balance. Maybe sink the hips down a little more. Bend that left knee a little more. Now we're going to take the right knee. Inhale as we open it to the right. Exhale as you squeeze it behind the left. Inhale, open right. Exhale, squeeze behind the left. If this is too much on your balance, you can lower the foot and take little smaller actions. Knee open, squeeze it in. Or you can hold on to a wall or chair. So see if you can challenge your balance. Keep your legs engaged. Inhale, open. Exhale, squeeze in. Slow, controlled. And then lower the right toes behind the left. Try to get your hips even and facing forward. Hands to prayer, shoulders soft, face soft. Find your breath. Get taller in the spine. Take an inhale as we lift our legs a little longer. Exhale as we slowly squeeze our knees down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, squeeze. Small, controlled, tiny movement. Bring your knees down, set up, hold. Stay here, or if you'd like to try, releve the left foot, slow with control. Lift and lower the left heel. You really have to squeeze the legs, squeeze the core, do it with control. And then hands at prayer, balance on the left leg. Right leg comes up, heel to glute. Bring it all the way up to stand and cross it back over again. Left knee bends, hips sink. See if you can hold figure four chair. Whew. And then bring it down and tap out, left foot. Tuck the toes behind you. Land the top of the foot down and then feel like you're pulling the foot towards you without letting it move. So opening up the front of the foot, maybe even bending the knee and opening up the front of the hip also. And then land back to our breath. Inhale up. Exhale, prayer to heart. Inhale up. Exhale, prayer to heart. Hold your prayer, heart center, set up for the other side. This time, left leg comes forward. So bend the knees, sink the hips a little. Left leg forward, engage. Then send the left knee past the right. Heel comes to glute, hold. Find your balance. Left leg super engaged. Maybe sink the hips a little more, bend the right knee a little more. Engage in the core, lift your spine long. Inhale, open the left knee. Exhale, tuck it behind the right. Inhale, open. Exhale, behind. tuck it behind, lower the toes, curtsy pose. Get the hips even, spine long, land. Find your breath. Inhale, lengthen the legs. Exhale, slowly lower the hips and bend the knees. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, lower and bend. So really feeling all these strange angles in our legs, building strength in all these different angles. So many of the poses we do are straightforward, keeping our knees in line, our ankles in line. But when you think about when you slip and fall, it's usually when you have that strange angle. So build strength in all directions. Bring it down, hold. Option to stay here and hold, or try to releve right foot, nice and slow. And with control, lift and lower the heel. Land in your curtsy. Bring the weight onto the right leg. Lift the left. Bring it back to stand. And cross over again, figure four. Sit down in your chair. Breathe. And then bring it down. Tap out, right foot. Tuck the right toes under, land the top of the foot on the ground, and then pull like you're pulling the foot towards you. Engage the front of the foot, maybe even the front of the right hip. And then bring it back to mountain, connecting with our breath. If you have a block, grab the block and place it in between the legs, just above the knees. Squeeze the block. So squeeze, 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 squeeze. If you don't have it, just imagine you're squeezing it. Sink the hips. So sink the hips. You're gonna bring your hands out. You're gonna make a triangle with your hands, so index fingers and thumbs touch. Sink the hips, engage the core, get really long. Inhale here, center. Exhale, take your triangle over to the left. Inhale, center. Exhale, over to the right. So your base is squeezed, locked. See if you can squeeze even around the tailbone, like you're trying to push the tailbone down. Inhale, center. Exhale, turn. So make this movement really tight in the core, around the rib cage space. And then bring it back to center. Release your block and shake out the legs. So really get the legs a shake, tap them out, try to loosen and soften the muscles. So really get that wiggle going, that cellular reset. Let the muscles go. Back to mountain. Inhale up. Exhale, purr to heart. Hold your prayer at mountain and check in. How is your body feeling? Especially your feet, your legs, your hips, your base. Soften your low back. Soften your face. Find your breath. And then we're going to inhale up and swan, dive it down, touch the ground and step back, high plank. So land in your high plank, hold. Get really long in the spine, lift up out of the shoulders. And then lower the knees and come all the way down to crocodile pose. One hand on top of the other, forehead down. Shimmy the hips, loosen and soften. What can you let go of? So we're going to move and breathe for the back line. So we did a lot of core work. We're going to work the back. So inhaling, lifting our shoulders. Exhale, lower. Focusing on lifting our shoulders, not the head. So lift the shoulders, engage the back, engage the glutes. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Try not to engage one muscle group more than the other. So we're trying to find that even use of the entire back line. Maybe lifting our feet. Maybe lifting your arms. Moving with your breath, engaging the entire back line. Lift up and hover a small amount. Get longer in the spine rather than pulling the head up and back. Imagine you're getting longer, 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 making more space for each vertebrae. Take an inhale, center with the exhale. Take an elbow towards the hip. Inhale, center. Exhale, elbow towards the hip. You can do this with your hands and feet down, engaging the back, taking smaller, more controlled movements. So see where your muscles are at, see where you're at. Have your own internal experience. Trying to engage all of the back. And then bring it back down to crocodile. Shimmy the hips and let go. Bend the knees, take the heels up, and take the legs side to side. Swishing the legs, letting go. See if you can let go of a little more around the legs and hips and glutes. Bring the feet back down, tuck the toes, hands in by the shoulders. So press the tops of the thighs right above the knees into the ground. Engage like you're pulling your pelvis up, pulling your tailbone up out of the ground. Engage here, and then see if you can just lift a teeny bit. Lift the shoulders, small, tiny movement. So different position for your shoulders. And then push all the way up, tabletop. So find your tabletop. And then up to down dog. Maybe shorten the stance of your down dog a little bit. We are going to bring the right knee forward. So trying not to move the hips around too much. We're engaging the core. Pulling the right knee forward. Cross the right knee above the left knee. Cross the right ankle above the left knee. So back to that figure four. Make an assessment of where you're at. So maybe you bend the left knee a little more. See where your muscles, your hips want to be. And then maybe you can walk your hands up closer to your foot and land in a folded figure four. Bend in the left knee, engaged right leg. If you have been working on arm balances, there is an arm balance from here, flying pigeon. So you can catch your right foot on the tricep, on the upper arm above the elbow of the left arm. Land your hands on the ground. Let just below the knee come onto the right arm and just practice coming forward, engaging the core and maybe popping up the toes and eventually lifting the leg. And then when you're done playing, slowly unfold. Walk the hands back out. switch sides. So take a little pedal out, a little movement. Notice left and right sides. Perhaps a little bit shorter down dog stance. Engage the core, engage the legs, bring the left knee forward, and then left ankle over, just above right knee. And then maybe walk your hands slowly back. So just find where you're at, engaging both legs, maybe sinking the hips a little more. This is also a great place to use a block. You can hold the block up and focus on the hips. And then if you want to play again, left foot tucks on, right tricep, right upper arm. Come forward, land your base, so land your arms where you're strong, where your shoulders are strong. Left knee is right on the left upper arm. Come forward, engage the core tightly. This all comes from the core. Breathe and maybe lift. Right toes, maybe lengthen. Whew. And when you're done playing, you're just gonna reset to tabletop and come on to a seat. So find a seated position. Whatever that is for you. Maybe you use a chair, maybe you use a cushion. Just get a really long spine. We're going to take our hands out, we're going to spread them wide and look at them. We're going to squeeze our hands into fists and we're going to look at them. So look at your fists. Look at how that begins to feel in the physical body. Almost as if you're telling your brain, what do my hands feel like? When my hands are tight in fists, what do they feel like when they spread wide? Turn your hands so the palms are up, pull the fingertips back, and then make small in and outs with your fingers, as if you're just trying to make space in your wrists nice and slow. And then flick, like you're trying to loosen. Sparkle, as if you're throwing glitter around you. Take a little side with the shoulders, as if you're trying to feel any tension in the shoulders. So moving through the shoulders, the upper back, just trying to feel your own muscles, perhaps your own holding patterns. Bring the shoulders all the way up to the ears. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Then pull the shoulder blades back towards each other. Squeeze like you're pinching in between the shoulder blades. Pull the shoulder blades down while still squeezing. Pull the shoulder blades forward. Pull the shoulders all the way forward. Open the shoulder blades. And then little up and downs with the shoulders, just to let some tension go. And make your way down onto your back. So land on your back. Find your hips. Find your shoulders. Bring your feet to the ground. Let the tension around your hips start to soften. Just start to feel how you feel now from when you started practice. Take the feet up to the ceiling. Experience the feet. Move the feet. Feeling your feet. We did a lot of balancing work, so really looking at your feet, feeling any tension, holding on to the feet. Moving the feet in whichever way feels right for you right now. And then just to check in how we are doing, we're going to repeat an exercise from the start of the practice and see if it feels different. Left foot down, left knee up, Right foot crosses just underneath left knee. Press the right knee away and see what's different, what's the same. Breathe. Slowly unravel, right foot down, right knee up, left foot crosses just underneath left knee pulls away. Maybe actively push down into the hips, seeing what's going on in this space. Slowly unravel. And let your feet be on the ground, knees in towards each other, everything in your base soft. Just let your head roll on the ground, trying to release any tension in the neck and shoulders. Take the chin all the way over to the right. Really feel and connect with anything holding on the left side. Maybe even bringing the left hand down onto the ground and pushing the palm into the ground. Push the palm so that you activate the front of the left shoulder. Take a deep breath in and squeeze the muscles of the neck and shoulder a little bit tighter. And then with the exhale, let go suddenly. Take the chin over to the left shoulder. Maybe place the right hand down, palm down. Squeeze and feel the tension in the neck and shoulder. Take a deep breath in, squeezing tight, 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 tight. And with the exhale, suddenly release and let go. Bring the feet a comfortable distance from the glutes. So the knees, the feet, the hips are all very comfortable. And then either taking the hips left and right, like you're really wiggling the hips left and right. Maybe you're imagining a fast beat. And you're letting the hips move to a really fast beat. Or you're going to lift about 1 millimeter and let them drop. So lift and drop. See which one feels better for you. Most people have a preference. But what we're looking for is that muscular cellular reset. So thinking about shaking out anything that's held in this space, getting it moved around, ready to reset, ready to be let go of. Really soften. Take a deep breath in, and with the exhale, suddenly stop. Let the knees, hips, everything land wherever they land. Find your breath. And begin to take an internal assessment about where you want to be for your resting pose. So let go of somebody else's tradition. Let go of the world of should and the world of should not. And begin to make a decision about where your body wants to be right now. Trying to keep in mind the concept of resting pose. It is not a stretch pose. It is not an opportunity for you to get one last stretch in. It is an opportunity for you to reap the benefits of some of those endorphins and hormones and things that we moved around in the body. Now is the time to let go and experience that. So, maybe you're all the way on your back with your legs long. Maybe you have a cushion underneath your knees. Maybe you put your feet up on a chair. Starting to loosen and soften. Maybe you have your feet all the way up a wall. Finding ways to find softness in the entire body. Take a check-in on the head. So land in the thoughts as if you're starting to just observe what might or might not be there. As if giving all those rapidly fired thoughts the waves of our thoughts, the vacillating waves of perception, the time to just be there without judgment. Try not to label them as good or bad or get caught up in them, but notice that you can notice them. And then connect with the concept if you can notice your thoughts, then who is it that's noticing the thoughts? If you can notice your own thoughts, then perhaps you are something more than just those thoughts. And feel free to tune me out, but I picked a card today that I thought was pretty excellent, so I'm going to share it. Courage is knowing it might hurt and doing it anyway. Stupidity is the same. That's why life is hard. So what is the difference between courage and stupidity in your life? A big part of adulting is not crossing the line where your rebelliousness turns into recklessness. The people who ride this line not most gracefully usually have a clear eye on their values and a good friend who will tell them when they're being a dumbass. If you can't decide if you're being brave or stupid, call a friend, but not the one who often acts like a dumbass. So I thought that card was pretty cute. It explains a concept of how difficult life can be and how blurred the lines can be sometimes and how much we need each other in a kind of lighthearted and soft way. So we do need each other, and many of us feel quite disjointed and separated from each other right now just because of the way that things are going. So as you start to soften into this space, perhaps just imagining that you have someone here with you. I mean, it doesn't need to be someone that you particularly imagine, just someone, not someone exact per se. So try not to, if you have someone, exactly someone that you want sitting with you in your room, that's okay. But you can also think of perhaps like an angel or a spirit guide or an old wise ancestor, just somebody here with you as you begin to release and soften, let go. And as you begin to connect with this person, perhaps helping you make difficult decisions or keeping you on the right track, begin to let go of the concept that this is someone outside of yourself, but however, your internal self. Imagine that you're sitting in the room with a part of you that is pure, the part that is your soul, your intuition, your guidance, the part that's below the ego, below the thoughts, below the experiences, below the labels. And begin to wrap yourself in a sense of unconditional love and acceptance. If you have the time to take an extended resting pose, I invite you to take as long as your body needs. Connecting within. Imagine connecting to this kind, compassionate, unconditional loving part of yourself and staying connected. If you need to finish out at 60 minutes, we're already there. So begin to roll on over to a fetal position, trying to keep that concept of being connected to that bliss layer. And then come on up to a seated position and finish your practice with your hands at prayer. Connecting with bringing our left and right sides to meet in front of our heart as if accepting ourselves as whole and complete, precisely as we are. And though we may not be doing these practices in person together at the exact same moment, know that there are others out there sharing this experience with you, sharing the same desire to feel connected, to let go of some stress, to feel a little more loving, a little less filled with fear. We share those desires. And though we may not be able to hug and be in community, we are in community from our hearts. Thank you all so much for joining us. I don't know if you could hear my pug snoring in the background. I apologize if that was distracting. She's kind of loud. Get another pervert.